The attacks kept coming non-stop, leaving Jin-Woo no time to catch his breath after defeating one statue. A sword swung at him from the right shin. He blocked it with one dagger and slashed diagonally with the other. Scale. The blade bit into a statue's arm, sending it staggering back with a pained shunk. As left, right, right, left, front, right, left, dodged and countered. His moves getting sharper, the harder Jin-Woo focused, the slower the statues seemed to move, while he felt faster than ever. Then, a chill ran down his neck. Behind me, Husky leaped just in time as another statue swung from the rear. Mid-air Jin-Woo slashed downward, cutting off its head with a clean slash. His perception stat had him covered on all sides. After that close call, he let out a deep breath. Wait. Every nerve in his body was on high alert as he watched the statues move. His eyes gleamed with intensity as he deflected and blocked each attack, whittling down the number of relentless stone warriors. This is the moment I've been waiting for. With swift, precise strikes, he slashed through the statues as if the demon monarch's daggers were designed to cut through solid rock. Jin-Woo was like a well-oiled machine, every part of him working together in perfect sync. The angel statue quivered with excitement as it watched him. For a human, he's doing amazingly well. The angel thought, a pleased smile spreading across its face. It had definitely made the right choice picking Jin-Woo for this test. But the challenge wasn't over yet. The angel's gaze shifted to the gigantic figure sitting on a massive throne. The colossus's eyes glowed bright red, like it was waiting for its signal. With a mighty roar, it gripped the armrests and stood up, causing the ground to tremble. Azza rumble. The sheer size of the colossal creature was terrifying. Boom! The lair shook violently as it took its first step. Boom! Boom! Each massive stride brought it closer to Jin-Woo. In just a few steps, Jin-Woo stood surrounded by broken statues, their shattered remains scattered all around him. Suddenly a giant monster appeared, its massive form looming over him. The creature raised its huge arm high in the air. In the middle of fighting off other moving statues, Jin-Woo felt something odd. He glanced up and saw a shadow cast over him. Whoa! He exclaimed as a gigantic hand came crashing down right where he had been standing. Just moments before. Crash! The ground trembled violently from the force of the impact. Jin-Woo dodged quickly to the side, rolling across the dirt several times before scrambling back to his feet. He managed to escape the crushing blow by mere inches. Jin-Woo's expression turned serious as he noticed his new enemy. Well, this isn't great. He thought he was done with trouble, but now he was jumping from one problem to an even bigger one. There were still about 100 living statues rushing toward him at top speed, and they were closing in fast. As the first mace swung his way, Jin-Woo quickly tapped it with his dagger, knocking it off course. Jin-Woo smoothly stepped in front of the puppet and sliced its neck. Hod! The statue's head hit the ground and another one immediately took its place. But that wasn't the biggest threat. Jin-Woo's hair stood on end. He twitched and looked up. Oh no. A creepy red glow was getting brighter in the giant's eyes. Was it too late to dodge? If he went the wrong way and got blocked by the other statues, the giant's heat vision would melt him into dough. In that split second, Jin-Woo dropped his dagger and grabbed at the approaching foot soldiers instead. A ruler's hand. With a loud click, 5 statues were squished together. Skill Ruler's hand has been upgraded to its ultimate version. Skill Ruler's authority. Nice. But there was no time to celebrate. Jin-Woo held up his homemade shield right where the giant was looking.
Stop.
Just like Jin-Woo had guessed, a red laser blasted out. Sizzle. The shield started to melt from the heat, but Jin-Woo didn't stick around to see how long it would last. He jumped away just in time. The broken pieces of the statues hit the ground as he turned off his special power.
Stop.
Now that Jin-Woo had seen what the giant could do to its friends, he realized he should have taken it down first. With a new plan in mind, Jin-Woo sprang into action just before another beam fired. Suddenly, Jin-Woo was moving so fast that the giant couldn't even keep track of him. Jin-Woo crouched down at the giant monster's feet, pouring all his strength into his legs. He knew he only had one chance. Dodging that red beam in midair would be almost impossible. But Jin-Woo had learned something important. If you don't take the shot, you'll never know what could happen. With a fierce determination, he pushed off the ground with every ounce of power he had. His body shot up like a rocket. Hurry up and die. At the peak of his jump, Jin-Woo found himself eye to eye with the colossal figure. Time seemed to slow down, letting him see each tiny droplet of sweat as it flew off his body one by one. The pressure was intense, any mistake could mean death. And that tension pushed him to his limits, sharpening every move he made. Jin-Woo was stunned by how much his agility could accomplish. But there was no time to admire his skills now. The Colossus's gaze was shifting straight toward him, and those glowing red-hot eyes made his skin crawl even from this distance. If that beam even brushed him, it would be game over. The danger made his stomach twist with nausea, but somehow it also sharpened his focus. Stay calm. Jin-Woo held out his empty left hand. Ruler's authority, he shouted, using the skill he'd recently powered up to grab at the statue's shoulder. Jin-Woo tried to pull himself toward a huge stone block instead of being pulled away. Suddenly there was a loud boom. The statue moved a little, which surprised everyone. Jin-Woo's improved skill, now boosted by the ruler's authority, acted like a strong gravitational force. He landed safely on the statue's shoulder. A bright red beam zapped through the air, hitting exactly where Jin-Woo had just been. Phew, that was close. Thanks to his quick move, he had just bought himself a couple of seconds before the laser came again. Jin-Woo sprinted across the shoulder, gripping the demon monarch's dagger tightly in his right hand, as he raced toward the giant statue's neck. He slashed at the countless tiny dots of silver light that flickered on its surface, shink 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 shink. Each strike landed exactly where the lights indicated, but nothing seemed to work. The dagger, which had once sliced through the armor-like scales of a powerful naga, now felt useless against this stone giant. Frustrated, Jin-Woo realized his attacks were leaving nothing more than shallow cuts. Just as he was about to try again, a massive hand swung toward him. He didn't hesitate. Leaping across the neck, he ran along the statue's back, and reached the other shoulder just in time to avoid getting caught. Now, more determined than ever, Jin-Woo scanned his surroundings for a new plan. As Jin-Woo flew through the air, he glanced down and realized just how super tall the statue was. His stomach flipped a little at the thought of falling from that height, but he didn't let fear take over. Instead, he focused on the statue's profile. This wasn't the first time his dagger attacks hadn't worked. Some enemies were tougher than others. Well, if stabbing wasn't going to cut it, maybe smashing would. Jin-Woo remembered why he had put so many points into building up his strength. Determined, he jumped toward the statue, and swung his left hand with all his might. Gud. His fingers sank right into its temple. Yes. Jin-Woo shouted, pumping his fist in excitement. He grabbed hold of the statue's face with that one hand, hanging there like a rock climber dangling from a cliff. It was time to see if his plan would work. Jin-Woo's muscles on his right side flexed like crazy as he put all his energy into them. He threw a powerful punch. The statue's head wobbled even though the dagger hits had no effect. The angel statue stared in total surprise at what just happened. The energy from the giant statue buzzed through every corner of the temple like electric air. The puppeteer was super excited, barely able to contain its grin. The angel had not seen this coming. Jin-Woo tackling its huge creation in such a bold way. Everyone waited with bated breath to see what would happen next. Then, bam, Jin-Woo threw another punch right at the giant's face, making it sway unsteadily for a moment. Jin-Woo's attacks were hitting their mark, but his opponent wasn't just gonna sit there and take it. Suddenly the giant lifted its massive hand like it was about to squash a bug. Wham! Jin-Woo dodged just in time and landed on the statue's shoulder. He couldn't help but smirk as the giant accidentally slapped its own face. When the hand pulled back, Jin-Woo scrambled up again. Pow! Bam! Thud! Boom! Each punch and kick sent shockwaves through the lair. The ground shook with each hit. Crick! Crack! A massive crack spread across the giant's face like a spiderweb shattering glass. The giant statue wobbled, trying to steady itself, but stumbled toward the far wall of the room. A boom! Boom! Its massive feet slammed against the ground, shaking everything around. It seemed like the statue was about to slam into the wall and squish Jin-Woo flat. But Jin-Woo wasn't going to let that happen. He knew he had to act fast. He started throwing punches faster and harder than ever before. Timbolo, bo, tabolo, tabolo. Each hit landed squarely on the statue's face, sending shockwaves through its stone body. Meanwhile, the statue was picking up speed, thundering toward the wall like a runaway train. Jin-Woo glanced at the statue rushing toward the wall, checking how much time he had left. Then he focused all his strength into his right arm. ready to deliver one final crushing blow. Jin-Woo flexed his arm and his muscles popped as a massive surge of energy built up inside him. He swung with all his might, putting every ounce of strength from being a level 103 player into one powerful strike. WHM. The giant statue staggered, letting out a strange cracking sound, like something breaking apart. Blood. The ground shook as the massive figure collapsed lifelessly to the floor. A thick cloud of dust rose, and Jin-Woo stepped out of it, completely unharmed. He let out a deep breath. Sif. His heart pounded in his ears. Thump thump thump. Just moments ago, this towering statue had left him breathless with fear. Now, it was nothing more than a broken heap on the ground. This victory, all his. This was all his doing, something he'd achieved by himself. I can do it, he thought. He could conquer anything. Jin-Woo's heart ached as memories of the fallen hunters flashed before him, their faces etched in his mind. But there was no time to get lost in those thoughts. The statues sprang into action, closing in around him. Just as they were ready to strike, Jin-Woo lifted his gaze from his hands. Ruler's authority. With a loud "S-salam," the statues' heads crashed to the ground, and they finally stopped moving. This was the power of Ruler's authority. An unseen force that could command even stone. Jin-Woo looked down at his hands in awe. He could feel it. This fight had made him stronger. He tightened his fists, then loosened them again. A surge of energy flowed through not just his hands but his entire body. Jin-Woo could feel the energy pulsating through him like a heartbeat in his veins. His heart raced wildly like a bird fluttering to break free. Something inside him had been stirred to life during that deadly battle. Something powerful. Clap, clap, clap. The slow claps echoed eerily, each one sharp and deliberate. Jin-Woo's eyes snapped toward the sound, his breath catching in surprise. There stood the angel statue, its creepy smile still plastered on its face, now applauding with big dramatic sweeps of its arms that seemed almost mocking. Extraordinary. The angel's eyes, which had greeted Jin-Woo with kindness before, now looked menacing. Didn't you promise me something? Jin-Woo asked firmly. The statue had vowed to give him answers if he survived the test. But the angel wasn't going to make things easy for him. It let out a cold laugh, taking a step closer to Jin-Woo. "Haha," it said mockingly. Another step forward, after all, and another step. The angel statue suddenly stopped right in front of him. "I'm still here, aren't I?" Kaker, twing crack. The wings on its back twisted and tangled until they formed arms, 2 on its shoulders and 6 on its back. The stone angel tightened each of its 8 fists. "I am the final test." Jin-Woo frowned, confused and uneasy. Before Jin-Woo could even get a word out, the statue interrupted him. "No need to worry about me," it said, as if reading his mind. Jin-Woo's eyes widened in shock. It knew exactly what he was about to ask. The angel-like figure gave a small smirk and tapped its forehead with one of its 8 hands. "Everything I know about you is right here." Jin-Woo stared, unsure what to make of this strange twist. Jin-Woo's sweat dripped down his face. "You catch on fast," he said, trying to laugh it off. But the angel statue just let out a mechanical chuckle. "True. But if you're holding back to avoid killing me, I can't really test your skills." Suddenly, the statue's lips moved quickly, but the voice came from somewhere else entirely. An urgent message popped up in front of Jin-Woo. "A critical quest has arrived. If you don't defeat the enemy by the deadline, your heart will stop beating. Time left, 10,000. Jin-Woo blinked once to read it all. Tick. Time left, 9:59. He stared at the angel statue in shock. That's right. That's right. Every time it spoke, the system echoed the same words. Jin-Woo's heart had just started to calm down, but now it was racing wildly again. Jin-Woo's breathing got faster, and his hands started to shake. The stone angel watched as Jin-Woo's eyes widened in shock, then finally answered his first question. "Who are you?" "I am the architect of the system," it boomed. Jin-Chul sighed wearily. "Mr. Kim, with everything going crazy in Japan because of the dungeon break, should you even be here?" "It Kim." A reporter rubbed his temples as he yawned. "I've been up all night," he said, trying to shake off the sleepiness. Tons of reporters are already at the scene, so there's no need for a small-time reporter like me to be there. It's better for me to hang out with the surveillance team and wait for a big story to break. Jin-Chul thought about telling the reporter to pick one, either scratch his head or yawn, but not do both at the same time. Instead, he just let out a quiet sigh to himself. Kim was one of the few reporters who wrote nice articles about the Hunters Association. Most others wrote dramatic stories about corruption in the association, or dug into Hunters' personal lives. There was no point in turning an ally like Kim against them. That's why Jin-Chul put up with him whenever he came by the surveillance team. After a moment, Kim let out a long yawn and stretched before continuing. By the way, Manager Woo, should you even be here with everything going on in the country? Jin-Chul closed the file he was working on, let out a deep sigh, and answered quietly, if anything, that's why someone needs to be ready. Kim's eyes lit up. He grabbed a pen and a small notebook. Cool quote. Can you say it again so I can write it down word for word? Mr. Kim. You really? Jin-Chul's sharp reply was cut off by a sudden phone call. Huh? It wasn't just any call. It was from emergency dispatch. They were calling him directly instead of the surveillance team, which meant something big was happening. Jin-Chul snatched up the phone quickly. Hey, it's Mr. Jin-Chul Woo from the surveillance team. He said. Mr. Woo, we just got a report that needs your attention, replied the dispatcher. Jin-Chul's eyes snapped with curiosity. What happened? You remember that school attacked by orcs? They asked. Did something else happen? Jin-Chul pressed on. Not yet. But get this. They found something called a double dungeon in the schoolyard. A double dungeon. Now Jin-Chul was really curious. His eyes widened with surprise. And there was clearly more to the story. And Jin-Chul leaned in, eager to hear it. And I was told that Hunter Jin-Woo Sung has entered the gate. Before anyone could react, the angel statue suddenly sprang to life. Its stone fists zoomed straight at Jin-Woo like speeding bullets. There was no time to dodge. The attack came too fast, and from too close. Jin-Woo's mind raced. In a split second he relied on his battle instincts, making a quick decision that could save his life. He quickly threw up his arms to block the attack. It wasn't a bad move, but it definitely wasn't the best one either. With a loud bam, the angel's punch connected, sending Jin-Woo crashing into the wall like he weighed nothing. The impact was so hard that chunks of the wall crumbled down around him. Jin-Woo let out a pained grunt, trying to catch his breath. Before he could even recover, the angel was already looming over him, its face cold and unfeeling. With a loud POW, the angel swung again, but Jin-Woo barely escaped by jerking his head to the side. The angel's fist slammed into the wall, leaving a gaping hole. But that was just the start. With Jin-Woo trapped against the wall, the angel unleashed a flurry of punches, one powerful enough to take down even a top-tier hunter. Thud, 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 thud. The angel's eyes went wide in shock. She's blocking my attacks. And despite being outnumbered 8 fists against 2, Jin-Woo was somehow managing to block, dodge and endure every hit the angel threw his way. The angel could only see blurry outlines of his hands, like when you stare at something bright, and then look away. The so-called master builder was totally mind-blown by what had just happened. But the truth was, the outcome of this battle had been set in stone from the very beginning. This whole thing was just one step in a bigger plan, and giving Jin-Woo this final challenge. Yeah, that wasn't the angel's idea at all. An angel statue stood tall, expecting a boring day ahead. But here's the thing, it was in for a surprise. For centuries, it had never thought humans could be exciting opponents. Suddenly, something flickered. Nope. Not a light. It was Jin-Woo throwing a punch. Kura-pow! The punch hit right where it needed to, and sent the statue flying backward. Little did the angel know, this human was about to make its day way more interesting. The angel bounced right back to its feet, grinning even though its face was cracked. Haha. The angel couldn't remember the last time it had this much fun. It was so thrilled that it trembled at the thought of this moment ending soon. Phew. Jin-Woo could only stand there, catching his breath, unable to celebrate landing a solid hit. This opponent was tougher than anyone Jin-Woo had ever faced. The angel had called itself the architect of the system. Why did it create this system? Why had it picked Jin-Woo as a player? What was happening in the world right now? Jin-Woo had so many questions. But before he could ask any of them, he knew he had to defeat it first. The hunter squeezed his fists tight. Suddenly, something warm and wet dripped down his face, blood from a cut on his forehead. Drip. He thought he'd dodged all the attacks perfectly, but guess he missed one. Things were going from bad to worse. Blood trickled into one of his eyes, making it hard to see. Meanwhile, his enemy seemed perfectly fine. Either way, things were definitely not going in his favor. It was clear he was at a disadvantage in close combat. The angel statue looming over him was massive, standing several times taller and sporting 6 extra arms. He was really outmatched. It was almost impossible to dodge or block the attacks because they came so fast from all sides. A gash on his forehead showed just how tough things were getting. Jin-Woo knew he had to change his strategy. Just as Jin-Woo figured this out, the angel hurled another punch at him fast as a bullet. Boom! The punch smashed into the wall, causing it to collapse in a heap of dust and rubble. The angel quickly turned around, only to find that Jin-Woo had already created some distance before it even noticed he was gone. Jin-Woo knew he had to move fast and stay out of the angel's reach while attacking. He unleashed his ruler's authority with a loud thud, slamming down his powerful force just as he had done when he defeated Baru. Jin-Woo's eyes widened as he stared in disbelief. The same skill that could move a giant colossus only made the angel's neck bend slightly. He didn't know how, but something invisible was definitely blocking his attack. How is it doing that? Jin-Woo wondered aloud, before he could figure it out. This is insanely fun, flashed through his mind. Suddenly the deep voice of the angel and the system's voice started speaking together, filling the air with an eerie harmony. The weird scene before Jin-Woo made his skin crawl. The angel stretched out its 8 arms, and the weapons held by the other statues began to tremble. What the? Jin-Woo's eyes widened in shock. The weapons suddenly lifted into the air and zoomed toward the angel statue. Each of its 8 hands grabbed one weapon. It was ruler's hand. The angel could use that power too. Even though he wasn't as skilled as Jin-Woo, it was obvious why the attack had failed. This foe was nothing like anyone he'd fought before. Jin-Woo's gaze shot up. The timer flashed, showing he had 6 minutes and 19 seconds left. He needed to finish this fast. Realizing his usual attacks weren't working, Jin-Woo switched tactics and summoned the Demon Monarch's dagger. Jin-Woo had no idea where his other dagger was. He must have tossed it somewhere in the chaos. Now he faced 8 weapons with just one dagger to defend himself. His heart raced like a drumline. Boom, boom. He felt trapped. But he wasn't going to back down. Then, without warning, the angel statue shot up into the air, almost hitting the ceiling, before crashing down in front of him. The stone floor cracked and burst into pieces, sending sharp debris flying everywhere. Jin-Woo held his dagger tight, gritting his teeth as small rocks pinged against his ankles. I've got this. He could do this. Taking a deep breath to calm himself, Jin-Woo locked eyes with the angel, ready for whatever came next. A shiver raced down his spine as 8 weapons, a sword, spear, blade, axe and hammer zoomed toward him like they had minds of their own. He let out a deep breath and snapped his eyes wide open. A soft glow around him made his every move leave trails of light. Then came the noise. Bang bang, bang bang, bang bang. It was like nothing he'd ever heard before. If bullets could block each other, would they sound like this? In a flash, Jin-Woo and the Stone Angel were trading blow after blow, creating a racket that sounded like a battle scene from a movie. Everything around them seemed to slow down, but their fight was faster than ever. They were going at it like time itself didn't exist. They were evenly matched, each one giving as good as they got. He can sense it. Jin-Woo shifted his shoulder just a little, ready for whatever came next.